There's a version of you living your dream life right now in a parallel reality, and they might be reaching out to guide you toward it. But how do you know if you're receiving their messages? Let's dive into the signs you should never overlook. Imagine this. Every choice you've ever made or didn't make continues to unfold in a different timeline. Each version of you navigating a slight variation of reality, living out possibilities you never explored. It's a staggering idea, isn't it? But what if these alternate selves aren't just theoretical? What if in some strange way, they're closer than you think, existing not as distant what-ifs, but as entities capable of influencing your current reality? That's one of the questions posed by the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, a theory that has revolutionized how we look at the universe and, in turn, ourselves. The many worlds interpretation suggests that every time a choice is made or an event occurs, the universe branches into a new reality. This means that instead of collapsing into a single outcome, all possibilities remain alive, each existing in its own parallel world. Where this theory becomes truly fascinating is in its implications for consciousness and connections across these realities. What if these versions of you aren't simply out there existing independently, but are entangled in ways we're only beginning to understand? To make sense of this, let's start with a thought experiment many of you might already know. Schrödinger's cat. The famous thought experiment involves a cat in a closed box where its fate, alive or dead, depends on whether a radioactive particle decays. The twist? Until someone opens the box, the cat is considered both alive and dead, existing in a superposition of states. This is more than just a quirky quantum puzzle. It represents the idea that particles, and perhaps even realities themselves, don't settle into one state until observed. If these superpositions apply not just to isolated particles, but to entire universes, then the many worlds interpretation suggests a vast web of possibilities unfolding all at once, where realities coexist instead of being mutually exclusive. But how could these parallel realities communicate if they're theoretically separate from each other? That's where the concept of quantum entanglement enters the picture. Entanglement occurs when two particles become so tightly linked that changing the state of one instantly changes the state of the other, no matter how far apart they are. A study published in 2022 observed entanglement between particles separated by over 1,000 kilometers, demonstrating how deeply connected the quantum world can be. If entanglement operates across such distances, could it also serve as a bridge across dimensions? Some researchers wonder if there's a kind of quantum fabric linking not just particles, but realities themselves, offering a potential explanation for phenomena like synchronicities or intuitive insights that feel as though they come from an external source. This raises an even more profound question. What role does consciousness play in all of this? Traditionally, quantum experiments show that the act of observation influences outcomes. A researcher looking at a particle seems to collapse its state, locking it into one possibility rather than a blend of them. Some scientists have proposed that consciousness itself could act as a kind of organizing force in the quantum world, shaping outcomes at microscopic and maybe even cosmic levels. If so, it's possible that your awareness acts as an interface, not just with the reality you occupy, but with alternate versions of yourself. To give an analogy, think of consciousness as a radio dial. If parallel realities are like stations broadcasting on slightly different frequencies, your state of mind might determine which station you're tuned to. Concepts like focus, mindfulness, or intention setting might subtly shift your vibrational frequency, aligning you more closely with the energy of another self. This might explain why people sometimes experience sudden moments of clarity or unusual coincidences. They could be glimpsing the ripple effect of an alternate version of themselves reaching out. While this idea remains speculative, it's supported by ancient traditions that often describe the mind as a bridge between worlds. Still, the idea of interconnected realities often feels like something pulled from science fiction or philosophy rather than hard science. But when you look closer, the line between these disciplines begins to blur. Take the idea of synchronicities, for example. Events that appear meaningfully connected, even though no clear cause links them. Psychiatrist Carl Jung, who coined the term, believed these events represent moments where inner psychological states align with external reality in ways that feel almost too perfect to be random. What if synchronicities are not just psychological phenomena, but taps on the shoulder from another self in a parallel universe? Whether it's seeing the same number sequence repeatedly or having a gut feeling followed by a seemingly related event, such patterns might reflect a deeper interconnectedness inherent in the structure of reality itself. It's fascinating to think that quantum physics, spirituality, and even subjective experiences like intuition might intersect at this specific point. While studies of quantum entanglement focus on particles, they hint at a principle that reality itself could be relational, woven together by unseen threads. If that's the case, the feeling that another version of yourself might be reaching out to guide or inform you suddenly seems less like fantasy and more like an extension of what the universe is already doing on a microscopic scale. So can science fully explain these interactions? Not yet, but perhaps that's part of the allure. We're edging into territory where the answers might lie at the intersection of matter and consciousness, logic and wonder. And while we don't yet understand all the mechanisms, the very existence of these theories opens the door to a more adventurous question. What signs might reveal that these connections are already happening? Maybe, just maybe, you've already encountered hints of such communication without realizing it. What if there's a reason behind the strange events that catch your attention, the ones that seem too perfect to be coincidental, but don't fit into anything logical? These moments may not be what they seem. Take déjà vu, for example. Most of us have felt it, that eerie sensation that you've been somewhere before, or lived through the exact moment that's unfolding. Some scientists suggest it might simply be memory processing quirks, but others wonder, what if it's not just a glitch in the brain, but a glimpse into another timeline? One theory proposes that déjà vu could occur when your consciousness briefly aligns with a parallel self, allowing you to access their experience. In that split second, reality feels layered, as though you're living both your life and theirs, with their memory slipping into yours. It's an unsettling thought, but it makes you wonder, what if those déjà vu experiences are not mistakes, but messages? Think about synchronicity next. Have you ever noticed a series of events that seem strangely connected? Maybe it's repeatedly seeing the same number pattern, like 1111, or stumbling across the same word or symbol in unrelated places. Carl Jung believed these meaningful coincidences pointed to an ordered connection between the inner world and outer reality, a pattern that can't be explained causally, yet feels too purposeful to ignore. But what if, instead of a general cosmic order, synchronicities are whispers from another version of you? Imagine that a parallel self occupying another universe has insight into paths you haven't taken and uses these patterns to nudge you forward. For instance, seeing a specific number or phrase tied to a major decision might act as a subtle push, letting you know you're on the right track, or steering you toward a choice you're otherwise missing. Now, let's explore dreams. Almost everyone has had a vivid dream at some point, one so realistic it feels more tangible than the waking world. But beyond the ordinary strangeness of dreams lies a possibility that's far less explored. What if these dreams are more than echoes of daily life? Some people report recurring dreams where they live lives completely different from their own. In one, they might be married to someone they barely know in real life, or they find themselves succeeding in a career they've never pursued. What's fascinating is the theory that such dreams could be glimpses into parallel versions of yourself, ones where those alternate possibilities are being lived out. Unlike fleeting déjà vu sensations, dreams linger. They stay with you, imprinting feelings as though you've carried them back from another existence. Even more intriguing is the idea of lucid dreaming as a tool for communication across dimensions. Lucid dreaming happens when you become aware that you're dreaming and can influence the dream's outcome. Some practitioners believe this state allows you to intentionally tune in to other versions of yourself. For instance, by setting an intention before bed, perhaps asking for clarity on a life decision, you might tap into insights already understood by a different self. The experience becomes more than dreaming, it's a conversation between realities. And then there's intuition, that unshakable sense of knowing that seems to appear out of nowhere. Maybe you've had moments where an inexplicable feeling pushed you to make a decision, avoid a mistake, or pursue something you couldn't logically explain. Conventional thought often chalks this up to subconscious pattern recognition, your mind piecing things together faster than you can realize. But what if it's something deeper? What if intuition is how messages from your parallel self reach you in conscious life? Imagine another version of you who has already walked the path you're on, someone who's made choices you're still deliberating. They might send a subtle signal in the form of a strong gut feeling, helping to guide you toward or away from a particular outcome. It's as if intuition acts as a bridge, merging the wisdom of multiple versions of yourself. The idea gains even more weight when you consider how intuition often coincides with behavioral shifts. Have you ever suddenly developed new habits or interests without knowing exactly why? It's possible that these are influence points where the lines between your reality and a parallel one briefly overlap. Your consciousness might absorb traits from a version of yourself thriving in a way you aspire to. You might suddenly find yourself drawn to painting even though you've never picked up a brush, or you may instinctively steer your life in a direction that aligns with values that once felt unfamiliar. When we listen to these impulses, they often lead us somewhere meaningful, as though part of us already knows the destination. Moments like these, déjà vu, synchronicities, vivid dreams, and intuition are easy to dismiss as random. After all, science hasn't definitively proven any link between them and parallel realities. But acknowledging these experiences rather than brushing them off opens the door to a deeper connection with your reality. What if they're not just odd blips in your day-to-day, but intentional forms of communication? By paying attention to these cues, we might begin detecting the threads that weave through not just our lives, but the multiple lives we're part of. When you begin to trust these moments, life takes on an entirely new texture. It's less about controlling every detail and more about observing, staying open to the subtle shifts and messages. It's possible that these signs aren't just here to intrigue you, but to guide you towards something greater, and that raises a new possibility. Are there ways to become even more attuned, to strengthen that connection? It all starts with the energy you bring to each moment. Your emotions, thoughts, and state of being might be the key to sharpening the frequency between you and the other versions of yourself. Have you ever noticed how certain moments in life seem to vibrate with energy, as if they're humming just beneath the surface? Everything around us, from the smallest photon to the vastness of galaxies, vibrates at a unique frequency. This isn't just poetic, it's physics. From this perspective, even your thoughts, emotions, and actions carry a specific resonance. And here's where the concept takes a fascinating turn. If parallel realities exist, is it possible that the vibrations you emit align with or repel these other dimensions? Could your emotional state and energy level act as a tuning mechanism, making you more or less receptive to their signals? The idea stems from the notion that vibrational frequencies aren't just for tuning forks or sound waves. They underlie all matter and energy, including the patterns of the human mind. When you think a thought or experience an emotion, it's as though an invisible ripple moves outward, subtly influencing your environment. But now consider that these ripples might go even further, resonating with alternate versions of yourself in unseen dimensions. We're used to thinking of our consciousness as confined to one space, one reality. But what if it moves across multiple layers of existence based on how in tune we are? Research supporting this concept suggests that emotional states play a critical role in where you vibrate on this invisible spectrum. Positive emotions like gratitude, forgiveness, or compassion are described as raising your frequency, potentially opening you to higher, more harmonious realities. Gratitude, in particular, is often cited as a powerful state. When you practice gratitude, you're not just focusing on the good in your life, you're shifting your entire energetic field into alignment with abundance. Imagine that your emotions are like a dimmer switch, turning the lights up or down on your ability to connect with these subtle layers. Just as a calm lake reflects the sky more clearly, a higher vibrational state might serve as a clearer mirror for the intentions or messages arriving from another reality. But here's the flip side. Negative emotions like anger, guilt, or fear are believed to lower your frequency. You've probably noticed how heavy these emotions feel in your body. They slow you down, make your muscles tense, and cloud your thinking. From an energetic perspective, these states might build a kind of static, blocking or distorting the messages that could otherwise reach you. Picture it like trying to catch a faint radio broadcast while driving through a tunnel. The connection weakens and you lose clarity until you've moved out of that space. Tuning your frequency then is less about constant positivity and more about cultivating awareness and balance. Practices like mindfulness allow you to step back from reactive emotions, creating a neutral space where your natural vibration can stabilize. For centuries, this principle has been echoed in spiritual traditions, but even modern science points to the fact that practices like meditation, mindfulness, and even simple acts of kindness can have measurable effects on brainwave patterns. Studies have shown that during meditation, the brain enters states like alpha, theta, or even gamma frequencies, which coincide with deep relaxation and heightened awareness. These brainwave changes might represent more than just relaxation. They could be indicators that you're resonating differently with the energy around you. What's particularly fascinating is how this ties back to the idea of parallel realities. When your thoughts and emotions hit a certain frequency, you might be aligning with versions of yourself that are operating at that same level. For example, imagine a version of you thriving in a reality filled with joy and purpose. Keeping your vibration high could essentially tune you into their frequency, letting you pick up on insights or ideas they've already discovered. It could explain why certain moments of clarity seem to arrive out of nowhere. It's less about randomness and more about resonance. Think of it like walking into a room where two guitars are placed side by side. Pluck the string of one guitar and you'll notice the other guitar vibrating in response, even though no one touched it. This phenomenon, called sympathetic resonance, is a perfect metaphor for how vibrational alignment might work. As you adjust your frequency, you could begin to vibrate in sympathy with a parallel version of yourself, setting the stage for unexpected synchronicities or breakthroughs in intuition. But how do we start raising our vibration? It begins with small, intentional shifts. Gratitude is a powerful place to begin, simply because it's accessible even in challenging times. There's almost always something to appreciate, whether it's the warmth of the sun on your face or the support of a cherished friend. Compassion, too, can transform not only how you see others, but how you experience yourself. Practicing forgiveness, both inward and outward, has a similar effect, unburdening not just your emotions, but your energy as a whole. Each of these states lifts your vibration, creating openness rather than resistance. Of course, mindfulness practices amplify this process by turning your attention inward. When you meditate, you're not just calming your thoughts, you're aligning your energy. Sources suggest that meditation creates a state where your brainwaves slow, but your awareness sharpens, providing a perfect balance for receiving subtle messages. Even physical actions, like moving your body through yoga or spending time in nature, can restore this alignment. It's all about creating harmony in your inner and outer worlds, which extends across dimensions far beyond what we can observe. This raises a profound possibility. What if those higher frequency states are not only enhancing your well-being, but also opening lines of communication with yourself in parallel realities? If raising your vibration makes you more attuned to the signs and signals around you, it could mean that the wisdom from another version of yourself, the one who's thriving, laughing, succeeding, is closer than you've ever imagined. And the best part? You may already have the tools you need. What if the simplest act, closing your eyes and focusing on your breath, could open a doorway to another version of yourself. Meditation is often thought of as a way to calm the mind, but its potential runs much deeper. For thousands of years, spiritual traditions have regarded it as a tool not just for relaxation, but for reaching higher states of consciousness. Meanwhile, modern science has begun exploring its more mysterious effects, including enhanced intuition and altered brain activity. Could this age-old practice be the missing link to bridging dimensions? Some researchers and practitioners think so. Meditation works in part by quieting the chatter of your conscious mind, the endless swirl of to-do lists and fragmented thoughts. When this mental chatter subsides, what's left is a state of deeper awareness, what many describe as pure being. This state allows us to access parts of ourselves that go unnoticed during the hustle of daily life. The theory is that this quiet space not only connects you with your inner self, but also with energies or realities beyond your immediate perception. Even skeptics might find it hard to ignore the growing interest in the concept of meditation as a gateway to alternate dimensions. While the idea pushes the boundaries of conventional thinking, ancient spiritual practices and modern experiments both seem to hint at a world hidden in plain sight. One meditation technique drawing attention is Stargate Meditation. This practice blends ancient wisdom and modern theory to help individuals connect with the universe on a deeper level. At its core, Stargate Meditation is based on the principle of interconnectedness, the idea that everything in existence, from subatomic particles to distant galaxies, is fundamentally linked. Practitioners focus on visualizing a portal, often described as a circular gate of light, which acts as a symbolic threshold between everyday consciousness and higher states of awareness. The practice begins with creating a quiet space for relaxation, incorporating tools like sound vibrations or crystals to help achieve a sense of focus. With intention and concentration, this method allows individuals to expand their awareness and connect not only with the collective consciousness, but possibly with parallel versions of themselves in other dimensions. The Stargate itself is a mental construct, a kind of focus point that helps your mind break free from its usual boundaries. By visualizing this gateway, many practitioners claim they feel a shift in energy or awareness as they pass through. Some describe it as feeling grounded yet unbound, simultaneously connected to themselves and something far greater. Sacred geometry, with its harmonious patterns reflecting universal structures, is often used as a visual aid during the practice. While some may see the idea as symbolic, others suggest it could represent an actual energetic gateway. Though experiences vary widely, a common thread among practitioners is the profound sense of clarity and heightened perception they feel afterward. The effects of meditation aren't just anecdotal. Science has uncovered intriguing insights into what happens to the brain during deep meditative states. Researchers have found that meditation alters brainwave activity, particularly in the alpha, theta, and gamma ranges. These frequencies are associated with relaxation, introspection, and even creativity. Some studies suggest that these brainwave states might make us more receptive to intuition, or what feels like a deep knowing that arises without conscious reasoning. In Stargate Meditation, this enhanced awareness is used as a deliberate tool where practitioners set a clear intention, whether it's seeking guidance, exploring an alternate self, or simply opening up to new possibilities. The act of setting an intention is like programming the mind, giving it direction as it enters the fluid space of altered consciousness. One interesting aspect of Stargate Meditation is how it encourages exploration without rigid rules. Unlike some forms of meditation that emphasize emptying the mind, Stargate practitioners actively engage with what they experience. For instance, after stepping through the visualized portal, they may encounter symbols, insights, or strong emotional impressions. While these can feel abstract or disconnected during the meditation itself, many report that journaling afterward brings patterns and meanings into focus. Something as simple as a repetitive shape or phrase, seemingly random in the moment, might later reveal insight tied to a question or decision you've been grappling with. Skeptics might dismiss these experiences as products of imagination, but this doesn't diminish their value. Consider this: even if meditation simply helps you sharpen your awareness, enhance focus, or process emotions, the practical benefits are significant. But what sets practices like Stargate meditation apart is the possibility that the mind is tapping into something larger, maybe even reaching across boundaries we don't fully understand. Practitioners often describe feeling a sense of unity, as though they've bridged the gap between themselves and the interconnected web of existence. This feeling of union frequently carries over into daily life, fostering a sense of purpose and clarity that seems to ripple outward. Another intriguing possibility is that meditation amplifies our ability to notice interdimensional signs we might otherwise overlook. When your mind is calm and centered, it becomes easier to recognize patterns, synchronicities, or intuitive hints. Imagine you've just completed a Stargate meditation where you set an intention to connect with a parallel self. The next day, you notice a series of symbols or repeated messages, signs that point to a decision you've been struggling with. Would you dismiss it as coincidence or consider it proof of an undetected connection? For believers, these moments are anything but random. They're seen as a kind of dialogue, subtle yet profound, that meditation helps to amplify. What makes this all the more fascinating is how accessible it is. Stargate techniques can be adapted to suit anyone, whether seasoned meditators or complete beginners. The key is preparation. Creating a calm, open environment and setting a clear intention help guide the experience and create a foundation for meaningful insights. The benefits can be life-changing, even if the process starts with something as simple as visualizing an energetic doorway. And as we understand more about both consciousness and the physical universe, it's possible that the true potential of meditation as a portal is only beginning to unfold. Could it be that the answers we're seeking are closer than we think, waiting just on the other side of awareness? Imagine this: a woman starts having vivid dreams that feel too real to ignore. Night after night, she finds herself in a world where she's working a job entirely different from her actual career, running a bookstore in a quiet coastal town. The dreams fill her with a sense of peace and fulfillment she can't explain. But they don't stop there. Alongside the dreams, she begins noticing strange synchronicities. She'll hear random conversations about bookstores while waiting in line at a cafe, or see novels about second chances prominently displayed everywhere she goes. These moments, though seemingly ordinary, start to feel connected, as though guiding her towards something larger. Eventually, these experiences prompt her to shift her life course in small but profound ways, from picking up books she wouldn't ordinarily read to exploring local shops. Through these subtle changes, she discovers a passion for literature that she ultimately transforms into a new career path, one far closer to the life she'd dreamed of. Stories like this one serve as a reminder of how interdimensional communication might manifest, not as overwhelming supernatural events, but as subtle nudges. Yet for many people, the challenge lies in recognizing and trusting these signs. It's easy to dismiss an unusual dream as just a fluke, or write off repetitive coincidences as nothing more than random occurrences. And then there's the second hurdle. What do these signs even mean? Determining how to interpret and respond to such messages requires intention, self-reflection, and most of all, an openness to the unknown. Recurring dreams, in particular, can feel as though they're asking for attention. Perhaps you've had vivid imaginings of a life you've never lived, one where the surroundings are unfamiliar, but the emotions feel unmistakably real. These dreams might be attempts by a parallel version of yourself to share insights or knowledge. The details often hold the key. Repeated locations, themes, or symbols can all provide clues about the message being conveyed. One person, for example, shared how they kept dreaming of an unusual tree they had never seen before. The tree's presence became so persistent that they decided to sketch it. Remarkably, during a trip months later, they stumbled upon the exact tree in a small park they had never visited. The encounter drove them to pause and reflect on choices they had been avoiding, as if the dream had guided them to a moment of clarity. But these connections aren't limited to dreams. Everyday life also holds opportunities to tune into these subtle messages. Synchronicities, such as seeing repeating numbers, hearing a certain phrase repeatedly, or encountering the same image in various formats, might initially seem insignificant. However, if these moments evoke an emotional response, a sense of recognition or wonder, their meaning might go deeper. A good first step is simply noticing these events and questioning their timing. Does this repeated number appear when you're contemplating a decision? Does a particular word keep surfacing after you've asked for guidance? These patterns might act like breadcrumbs, clues from another self attempting to steer you towards alignment. For those who want to actively explore these signs, the practices you bring into your daily life make a huge difference. Keeping a dream journal is one of the simplest but most effective tools. Start by placing a notebook next to your bed and jotting down your dreams as soon as you wake up, even if the details seem disjointed. Over time, as you review these entries, certain symbols or recurring themes may emerge, and these patterns can reveal more than you expect. Recording synchronicities can serve a similar purpose. By keeping a written account of the coincidences you observe, you're more likely to identify meanings that might otherwise slip through unnoticed. The act of tracking these experiences builds an awareness that strengthens your ability to spot the connections in the first place. Meditation with intention is equally powerful. Before meditating, set a clear question or request, such as seeking guidance on a particular choice or asking for clarity about a recurring symbol. During the session, allow your thoughts to settle and observe where your awareness naturally moves. Visualization exercises can enhance this process. For instance, imagine meeting your parallel self in a peaceful space. Whether it's a room, a garden, or somewhere more abstract. You might not sense anything right away, but small impressions like a word, an image, or an emotional pull could surface, giving you more to reflect on in the days to come. One essential aspect of all these practices is cultivating vibrational alignment. As research highlights, everything in the universe vibrates at different frequencies, and thoughts, emotions, and actions influence your personal resonance. Practices like gratitude and compassion elevate this vibration, making it easier to connect with harmonious versions of yourself. You might notice that after consistently practicing gratitude, moments of clarity feel sharper, or the familiar signs, numbers, symbols, or dreams become more vivid. This doesn't have to feel mechanical. It can start with small habits, like listing 3 things you appreciate at the end of each day, or focusing on forgiveness for yourself or others. What's fascinating is how these simple practices can ripple out into tangible changes in your life. The woman from earlier, who dreamed of the bookstore, didn't suddenly abandon her current life overnight. Instead, she tuned into the subtle ways her parallel self might guide her in the right direction. Over time, small shifts, paying attention, experimenting with new ideas, and acting on intuition compounded into a transformative outcome. When you actively notice, trust, and reflect on these moments, you may not just strengthen your connection to your parallel self, you might begin creating a life that feels more aligned, authentic, and full of purpose. Ultimately, these practices are less about chasing extraordinary experiences and more about developing a deeper awareness of your own life. The signs, whether subtle or striking, are already there. It's the attention you give them and the meaning you assign that make them powerful. And as you continue noticing and exploring these connections, something remarkable begins to unfold. A sense of being part of something larger, richer, and more interconnected than you realized. What if the guidance you've been searching for has always been a part of you, quietly waiting for your awareness to catch up? The synchronicities, dreams, and intuitive moments you've experienced might not just be coincidences, but invitations to connect with a deeper version of yourself. By consciously observing these signs and aligning your emotions with the right vibrational frequency, you can begin to decode those messages. As Source 65621 emphasizes, self-awareness becomes the gateway to creating a life that reflects all your dimensions. The journey is ongoing, but with each step, you unlock a profound understanding of who you are,